Why does stopping alcohol sometimes feel harder on the body than drinking it in the first place? When someone removes alcohol from their routine, the body does not simply return to where it was. It launches a series of adjustments across multiple systems, changes that begin sooner than most people expect and run deeper than most people realize. Understanding what happens inside the body during this process reveals something important about how human biology responds to change, and why the body is far more adaptive than most people are taught to believe. When alcohol enters the body, it is not treated like food or water. It is classified as a toxin. The liver immediately prioritizes its removal. Other metabolic tasks get pushed aside. Blood sugar regulation, fat metabolism, hydration, all of it takes a back seat. While the liver focuses on processing alcohol and converting it into compounds the body can eventually excrete. This process requires real energy and real resources. Every time alcohol is present, the liver is essentially working overtime and everything else waits. When alcohol is no longer present, that emergency priority disappears. The liver does not suddenly have nothing to do. It has more freedom to do everything else. Within the first 24 hours, blood chemistry begins stabilizing. Blood sugar regulation becomes more consistent. And because alcohol is a diuretic, meaning it signals the kidneys to release more fluid than normal, hydration also begins improving almost immediately. The body is no longer losing water it needs to keep. Most people do not feel dramatic changes yet, but internally, multiple systems are already beginning to shift. And that shift leads directly into one of the first noticeable effects. Here is something most people do not understand about alcohol and sleep. Alcohol makes people feel drowsy. It is widely used as a way to wind down at night, and it does help people fall asleep faster. But the sleep it produces is not the same as natural sleep. Alcohol suppresses a specific stage of sleep known as REM sleep, the stage where the brain consolidates memory, processes emotion, and restores cognitive function. It also disrupts deeper slow-wave sleep, which is where the body physically recovers. In simple terms, alcohol puts people to sleep, but then interferes with the quality of that sleep at the biological level. When alcohol is removed, the brain begins reclaiming those deeper stages. At first, this can feel unusual. Some people experience more vivid dreams in the first few days. Others report lighter or more fragmented sleep early in the process. This happens because the brain is recalibrating its natural rhythms after a period of suppression. But as the first week continues, sleep architecture begins to normalize. Deeper sleep returns. People begin waking up feeling genuinely restored, not just technically rested, and that one change alone begins triggering a cascade of effects throughout the rest of the body. Sleep and energy are deeply connected. As sleep quality improves, something else begins shifting too. Alcohol affects two of the brain's most important neurotransmitters, GABA and glutamate. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. It slows brain activity and creates a calming, relaxed effect. Alcohol amplifies GABA activity significantly. Glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter. It drives alertness, focus, and mental activity. Alcohol suppresses glutamate. Over time, the brain adapts to this chemical environment. It begins producing less GABA on its own and increasing its glutamate sensitivity, essentially trying to counterbalance alcohol's effects and maintain equilibrium. When alcohol is suddenly removed, that equilibrium is disrupted. The brain, which had been compensating, is now running with more excitatory activity than it was designed to handle on its own. This is why some people experience restlessness, heightened anxiety, or difficulty settling in the first few days after stopping. This is not a sign that something is wrong. It is the brain recalibrating. Over 1 to 2 weeks, the neurotransmitter systems begin rebalancing toward their natural baseline. Calmness returns, but this time it is not chemically manufactured. It is coming from the brain's own restored balance. And that deeper neurological stability begins influencing mood in ways that compound over time. Because alcohol directly affects neurotransmitter systems involved in emotional regulation, including dopamine and serotonin, it can create short-term feelings of relaxation, while simultaneously disrupting the brain's long-term mood architecture. Regular alcohol use has been associated with increased baseline anxiety and reduced emotional resilience over time, even at moderate intake levels. As the brain's chemical balance restores, many people notice emotional stability improving. The highs and lows begin to smooth. Reactivity decreases. Clarity increases. Thinking feels less clouded. Decision-making becomes more grounded. Small frustrations that once felt overwhelming begin to feel more manageable. This process is gradual. It does not happen in a single day, but the direction of change is consistent. At the same time, something equally significant is happening in the liver. The liver is responsible for over 500 biological functions. When alcohol is regularly present, processing it consumes a significant portion of the liver's resources. Over time, this creates stress on liver cells, fatty deposits can accumulate, and inflammation can develop in tissue that is working under sustained pressure. When alcohol is removed, the liver's workload changes. Fat accumulation in liver cells can begin to decrease. Inflammation may begin to reduce. The liver shifts from a state of constant damage control toward active repair. And alongside all of this, the immune system begins to strengthen. Alcohol can suppress the body's ability to detect and respond to threats. Without it, immune signaling becomes more reliable. The body becomes better prepared to handle stress, fight illness, and recover from physical strain. This is one of the most significant changes happening inside the body, and it is also one of the least visible. There is no external signal that it is occurring, but it is happening. Here is where the science becomes particularly interesting. The body's response to removing alcohol is not simply the absence of a chemical. It is the body responding to a changed signal and adjusting every system that had been organized around that signal. This is actually a window into something fundamental about human biology. The body is not a fixed machine. It is a dynamic, constantly adapting system. Research into metabolic health and longevity has increasingly focused on what scientists call allostatic load, the accumulated biological cost of chronic adaptation to stressors. Alcohol, when consumed regularly, becomes one of those stressors. The body adapts, systems reorganize, biological resources get redirected. When the stressor is removed, the body does not simply go back to where it was. It builds a new baseline, often a more efficient, more resilient one. This has implications far beyond alcohol. It suggests that the body's capacity for recovery is not fixed at any particular age. The liver's ability to regenerate has been documented even in cases of significant prior stress. Sleep architecture can restore itself. Neurotransmitter systems can rebalance. Immune function can improve. These are not abstract possibilities. They are patterns that researchers have observed repeatedly across different populations and different levels of prior alcohol use. The timeline varies from person to person depending on genetics, overall health, duration of use, and other lifestyle factors. But the direction of change, when the biological environment shifts, tends to follow a consistent pattern. The body moves towards stability. Always. This is what makes the biology of alcohol cessation more than just a medical topic. It is a demonstration of the body's built-in drive toward homeostasis, the tendency to self-correct when given the conditions to do so. Within 24 hours, the liver redirects resources. Blood sugar begins stabilizing. Hydration improves as the diuretic effect of alcohol disappears. Within a few days, sleep architecture begins shifting. REM sleep begins returning. The brain starts recalibrating its neurotransmitter balance. Some people experience restlessness or vivid dreams as part of this adjustment. Within 1 to 2 weeks, sleep becomes more restorative. Energy becomes more consistent. Mood begins to stabilize as the brain's chemical balance restores itself. Over weeks and months, the liver begins repairing. Fat accumulation in liver cells may decrease. Inflammation reduces. Metabolism becomes more efficient. The immune system strengthens. Skin clarity and circulation often improve alongside hydration. None of this happens in isolation. Each system is connected to the others. Sleep influences energy. Energy influences mood. Mood influences behavior. Liver function influences metabolism. Immune health influences everything. When one system begins moving towards stability, it creates conditions that support the others. That is what stopping drinking actually does to the body. It does not erase the past, but it changes the signal, and the body, designed to adapt, responds.